Okay, this is a Sunday, and there's a lot to talk about. If you look at my last post, we have things like, of course, laying metaphysical foundation. And why are we laying metaphysical foundation? So we can build up the energy of the synergy cell, which allows us to get an energy upgrade, but we're always looking for energy upgrades. And we can get them from people, we can get them from light beings, we can get them from the work that we do ourselves. We call that Qigong, Pranayama, spiritual yoga. And I will be introducing you to the principles of the Mao, M-A-O, Shan, S-H-A-N. It really stands for the Mao Mountains. That was one of the first monasteries started in China to teach the art of energy manipulation, as thought follows energy. And so we will get more into that. Today's video is not going to be about that, but this is coming attractions. We'll talk about Buddhism. We'll talk about non-attachment. We'll talk about emotional states. And I left a little quiz at the end of the post. I said, which emotional state of all emotional states is the preferred state to be in? Well, is it hate? Is it anger? Is it resentment? Is it euphoria? Is it love? It's none of those. Those are all valid emotions to have, as long as it's not emotionality, which I told you comes from buttons that could be pushed because of trauma from the past and a lack of development of a proper emotional management system in the here and now. Do not underestimate the power of that. Do not underestimate the power of a metaphysical psychotherapist and what they can do to help you uproot some of these emotional dysfunctions in families, right? And at the same time help you develop a coping system, an emotional management system. So the emotionality or the emotional reactivity is a problem. What we should be doing is having the appropriate response, especially when the job of the matrix is to push, secondary matrix, to push your buttons. Remember, I'm talking about a natural organic matrix that comes out of the mind or the thinking of the prime source creator versus the world, which comes out of the mind of the dark cabal and others. Some people say it's alien intelligence. Some people say it's because of destruction of Tiamat. They came down here, they locked the planet down. I don't know, I don't care. We just know the darkness is here. So, and we have to deal with that. And regardless of what happened, and one day we'll get into the history of Tiamat, T-I-A-M-A-T. We'll get into the history of that. And just to give you another take, another perspective. The other thing is that I've been posting a lot of is about, and we got another one yesterday, sudden deaths of young athletes all over the world, especially here in the United States, just falling out. We just had another one. My brother was a football player? A football player who just collapsed and is in a coma, high school. I think he's 16 years old. And I'm not going to keep posting every time I find another athlete in a coma, and it's all, quote, cardiac arrest. Young athletes go into cardiac arrest, and yet no cause can be found. COD, cause of death. or cause of the arrest, because some of them are in comas. Cause of death, COD, unknown. But they know what the cause is. They just don't tell us. So I'm here to tell you. And I warned you 2 years ago, 3 years ago now, 4 years ago, the papaya juice and the snake venom for a so-called outbreak of God knows what. Yes, likely genetically modified viral genetic codes, which is why I'm big on genetic codes, because the goal of the matrix right now is to develop a genetic codec. You cannot make this up. A genetic codec that shuts down your interface, that shuts down your ability of soul consciousness to interface with this avatar that we call the human body. You can't make this up. Literally, there are genetic codes for almost everything. And it is estimated that we're only using, especially brain-wise, 90% of our brain. So if we could turn on the genetic codec for the other 90%, I mean, we're only using 10% of our brain, which means 90% lying dormant. If we could turn on the other 90%, voila, you got Superman. But that wasn't the game. You see, we came into this game, we incarnated into this game to have a memory wipe. It is not, some of y'all think it's a purposeful memory wipe. No, if you're coming from a higher dimensional frequencies and you got to come into 3D, you simply lack the apparatus and the vibration to remember it. It's almost like having a dream. You have a vivid dream, you wake up, you remember all the details of the dream, and you actually live those details, and then you go back to sleep, you wake up, and you can't remember a damn thing of what happened. And yet you made a conscious agreement with yourself to remember the dream, and you can't remember the dream because the dream is happening at a higher frequency, at a higher vibration. And by the time you come to full consciousness and awakening, you're at a different vibration, a much lower vibration that does not have the apparatus to remember that. However, you can develop the apparatus. This is the whole purpose of the metaphysical or the true spiritual journey. I left with a question on my last Instagram post, and thanks and a big shout out to KT, Kevin Thomas, who is my brother in the Christ-like and a lightologist in and of himself. And so he's been experimenting with Photoshop. So he put together some Instagram, some photos, and I used them on my Instagram post. So shout out to KT. Great work, and keep up the good work. I got some creative ideas for you. Nonetheless, I said, what is the one emotional state that will guarantee you an accelerated path along this metaphysical spiritual journey? And I said, is it love? The love frequency being highest vibration? Is it hatred? Is it resentment? Is it hostility? Is it anger? Is it rage? Is it hurt? Is it resentment? Is it a feeling of unrequited, or a feeling of not having follow through on something that you know you should have followed through on? Procrastination. It is none of the above. For the emotional state that a true spiritual master seeks to perfect is that of neutrality. And this is why we have a problem with reactive emotion and a problem with emotionality. This is why the issue of dealing with the dysfunctional family issues, abuse, even going into young adulthood, being with vampires, level 1 through 5, having come from broken family, dysfunctional families, deaths in the families that aren't handled appropriately, sexual abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse, approximal abandonment. Now we have a thing called gestational abuse, because the mother is not happy during the time, the 9 months that she's holding that embryo, that developing fetus. That developing fetus can pick up on the energetic signatures. And this whole path is about energetic signatures and energy codes, energy, frequency, and vibration. Most of you are so emotionally reactive, especially those of you that are coming to me in the club right now. I'm talking about the gym club. And shout out to my angels who have been quite helpful, but my job is to make sure I look out for them. They've been so traumatized by the medical system. Oh, by the way, what the good doctor put on his white coat? After all, what kind of doctor would I be without my white jacket? But if you see a doctor with a real white jacket coming after you and you're healthy, run. Run for the hills, because there's absolutely no reason for you to, number one, be seeing that doctor. Excuse me. There's no reason to be visiting that doctor, child or otherwise. We now know. See, I have a thing called receipts. So there's 2 code words, receipts, and I'll get back to where I was. I haven't lost where I was. Receipts, meaning I have the research in my back pocket. How many of you read the New England Journal of Medicine? I thought not. But yet about 5 years ago, there was a meta study that shows that there was no health benefits to wellness visits for well children and no health benefits to an annual physical exam for healthy adults. As a matter of fact, the receipts or the research shows that it can actually be more harmful than good. Now, this is mind-blowing because it's coming from a respected journal, and it's coming from the system itself. But it went right by you because you're not trained to pick up on that type of research. This is why you have the good doctor in the house for you. I do the research. I do 3 hours a day, and I'll share it with you. And I'm not looking to get anything back. There's no money to give me. There's nothing other than respect. You can send me love energy, of course. That's always appreciated. Just positive energy. And yeah, so if you see somebody in a real white coat with a real stethoscope coming after you, coming towards you, run for the hills. They may even have good intentions. They may even sound good. They may even sound like good people. And a lot of them are good people, except they've been trained in a system that is completely ass backwards, right? Where we go treat the effects of things instead of treating the very cause of things. We have a nutritional system in modern medicine that is completely ass backwards. It has nothing to do with the genetical, and yes, I made that up. A good doctor gets to make up 1 word a month, but you know what I mean. The proper genetic coding for the proper human diet is never addressed in school, in medical school, postgraduate training. It's never addressed, which is why I had to go into become an MD, neuropsychiatrist, naturopath, herbalist, and it still continues. So the research actually shows that you can traumatize yourself by going to these people. And then you go to them, all they know how to do is write this. Oh, here, you're depressed, here's an antidepressant. You only have for sleeping, here's an antipsychotic, literally antipsychotic for sleep. Afraid to get surgery that you have to have. So now they come to me, ask me, do I need this surgery? But you're afraid to do it because the doctors who you're interacting with are not of a high vibrational character, so you don't trust them if you're of a high vibrational character. And so I've been working with a lot of you, at least 5 or 6 of you. And then there's more of you who, when I walk in, look at me, have questions for me, which you're afraid to ask them. Why? Because your self-esteem is low. But I have never turned anyone down. If you ask, I will answer. It's real simple. But if you don't feel like you deserve an answer, you'll never ask the question, and therefore I can't answer it. Again, it goes back to self-esteem, family, self-value, self-worth, family dysfunction, and an emotional management system in the here and now. This is how you get in bad relationships too, by the way. Choosing something because you're afraid to get what you really want, so you settle for less. And then settling for less, by the time it plays itself out, turns out to be a nightmare. It's another, I'll get into a relationship video as it relates to spiritual development at another time. But I will say this. Initiation, motivation, activation, blast off. This is what you want in your relationships. I'll say it again. Initiation, motivation, activation, blast off. All relationships should be coming together to have a spiritual igniting and a spiritual blast off. I call it the spiritual energy upgrade. And if it's the person that you choose to be with, then an upgrade should be huge. I'll get into it another time. So we got the genetic codes, we got young athletes dying, because they believed, right? They didn't know. See, we got to stop believing. We got to know. They believed what the system was telling them, and what these doctors in white coats and stethoscopes, who look real important and sound very educated, but they're really educated fools. I call them the MDs, the mad dogs. I'm sorry, I said it. It had to be said. But you already knew that. We also now have, I mentioned something about toxicity. There's toxicity in relationships, especially those of you who are entered into relationships with level 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Level 5, vampires. I've been as high as level 3. A couple of y'all tell me you've been with 4s and 5s. My God. My heart goes out to you. That has got to be a huge, huge challenge. I want to review, so we have athletes just dropping dead for no reason. We know the reason. We have toxicity. So I talked about the train derailment. I want you to keep up with some of the current events, but I'll keep you up to the current events. We have the train derailments, one in Michigan, but the big one in Palestine, Ohio, that looks like it had not only toxic chemicals, but there may have been something radioactive as well. Now the water supply is damaged, the fish are dying, the people are getting sick, and you're having to leave, and yet there's been no official evacuation order. I wonder why. So And these things are distractions. Even that is a distraction. Now, we've had probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 trail derailments now in the past, year? I mean, this is crazy. And now, in the last 2, were not only were they toxic, I'm not sure that they even have an idea of the rules and regulations for carrying these toxic chemicals. I'm not even sure why we need these toxic chemicals in our environment. See, in a system that is organically based out of nature, there's no such thing as chemicals that don't fit into nature itself. They can't be absorbed back into nature safely. This is how we have to start thinking, but the system doesn't think that way, right? Yeah, the secondary matrix job is to pull the wool over you, take you down the yellow brick road until you finally get to Emerald City and find out that the emperor has no clothes, that the wizard has no power. You have the power. You always did, Dorothy. So we have these, again, the water supply. It's another reason why you have to distill your water. Water is a whole video unto itself. Again, right now, like I said, we're going to do A, B, and C. So I'm just kind of doing a little warm-up back. And then I went on prior to that, in the last video, which was 40 minutes. A lot of you complained about the length of the video, so we're going to cut down the length of the videos. I'm going to get off here soon. About the management of insulin, insulin resistance, hyperinsulinemia, managing one of the master hormones is insulin. Because hyperinsulinemia and high blood sugar lead to, and dehydration lead to a host of problems. Which brings me to hydration, grounding, and sunlight. Okay, we're back to it again. Hydration, grounding, and sunlight. And this is one of the reasons when I'm talking to people one-on-one, I have about 4 or 5 students at any one time that I'm working with one-on-one. And I tell you, you have to keep your feet in pristine condition. The circulation in your feet have to be pristine. How you take care of your feet has to be pristine because they are the connection to Earth. And so you want the circulation energetically and the circulation of the blood and lymph. We'll talk about lymph at another time, but lymph is the thing that carries the toxins back. The veins carry the deoxygenated blood back to the heart, but the lymph carries the waste products. So you have to take care of your feet. Grounding, sunlight, hydration. That's why I say distill water. If you drink that water, matter of fact, most water right now is polluted. Go look at the LADWP, since I'm in Los Angeles County. Go look at LADWP annual water report and tell me what you think about it. Oh, you don't know how to read it? I'll read it for you. And I'll post it on Instagram and tell you what the latest report was. I read them about once every couple of years. Nothing's changed. It's scary. It's scary, especially when you start seeing a bunch of pharmaceutical agents or their metabolites showing up in the water. You can't make this stuff up. So that's why distilled water is the best water, because it cleans everything out. Nothing is left except H2O. Now you have to have clean air, right? Because you want to do breathing exercises, right? And then you want to be able to do chanting, which requires you to do breathing. And I recommend rhythmic chanting. I'll show you how to do that maybe in the next video or the next one. This is 8A, B, and C. You need to be able to chant using low frequency energy, LFEs. Now see, low frequency does not mean good or bad. This is where you guys get it wrong. High frequency means good, no. We use the frequencies that we need to at the right time, at the right place, with the right intention. So if we have a pineal gland, go look at my Instagram post on the third eye complex with the fluoridated and calcified third eye, which is really the first eye, and look at that, the encrusting around the pineal gland, which is the king of the third eye complex. Remember, we have the pineal gland, we have the optic chiasm, we have the thalamus, the hypothalamus, and the queen pituitary. So king pineal, queen pituitary. Yes, even in the third eye area, we have the polarities. We will always have the polarities as long as we're dealing in 3D. But this is now a 3D, 5D interface, right? Because it is part of the interface of the soul consciousness with the avatar we call the human body. Anything else I want to say right now? I know a couple of people in the hospital struggling with very serious disorders. So whether you decide to go with the routine way that the medical system does, is cutting things, burning things, poisoning things out of your system, you've got to replace your microbiome. You've got to maintain your hydration. You've got to be always in an active, consciously detoxification state of mind, and eating the proper human diet, which we've talked about. Again, that air, the water, and one of the third most important issues is the cholesterol, which you've been lied to about. High cholesterol, because what they consider high is not high at all. And then you have to deparasitize yourself. So, again, just laying foundation. Did I say deparasitize? Did I say deparasitize? Did I say to use ivermectin in pure gum spirits of turpentine? And to go look up Jennifer Daniels on OneRadioNetwork.com and listen to all of their conversations on OneRadioNetwork.com. Jennifer Daniels, MD. She's got probably the best work on parasites, but Dr. Everett Berg came up with the neurofibrillary tangle research that when they detangled the tangles, so-called neurofibrillary tangles in the neurons, they found what? Parasites, 3 different kinds. What did they find in the snake venom? Parasites, 87% of all cases of syphilis now being transmitted by what? You can't make this up, snake venom. And you wonder why, hey, I got my baby, newborn baby. And now at least eight of you with newborn babies. There's like a bunch of people leaving and a bunch of people, new souls coming in. And by the way, these are not new souls. These are old souls. They may be new to this planetary system, but they're older than angels. They're older than most entities that are around. These are old souls. Make no mistake about it. So they have been around for quite a long time, and a lot of them are now coming as warrior class light warriors. Another topic for another day, Jedi warriors. And there's been a call put out to these Jedi warrior light masters to come in for the purpose of what? Elevating the planet and assisting the planet from the movement out of the 3D prison lockdown into a 5D natural organic state as it was intended in the first place. So I think with that, I'm going to end it. I covered a lot of little stuff. Toxicity, water, emotional issues, self-esteem, coming to the good doctor when you have a problem. And the last one I want to talk about is giving, because we have a problem here, especially as it deals with males and females. Giving. So I gave a set of jet skis to my then trainer, and why did I give it to him? Because I wasn't using them anymore. If I'm not using them and they're just sitting there, and I see somebody with a young kid and himself, and they like to jet ski, and I have jet skis sitting in the garage, why wouldn't I say, hey man, come get the jet skis? But you have to be responsible enough to come get the jet skis. See, the jet skis come with a certain amount of responsibility. There's a certain, you can get a ton of fun. I have had a ton of fun with my jet skis, but there's a responsibility involved. There's an investment involved in maintaining jet skis. There's an expense involved in jet skis. The second thing was I gave to one of my angels a Hummer. And everybody's coming up to me saying, okay, you gave her a Hummer, what are you getting in return? Oh, you guys are sleeping together? Is she giving you sex? No. You people crazy. Raise your hand if you lost your mind. No, there's no strings attached. I expect nothing back in return other than a smile of respect, a hello, and we get into high-level spiritual discussion. That's it. There's nothing, again, the Hummer was given out of love, out of need, to the right person at the right time at the right place who could handle the responsibility, and it wouldn't cause a negative backlash in the system that she finds herself currently in. So it was an upgrade for her. It was an upgrade for me to be able to give. I don't understand that giving gives you an upgrade. And again, if you're not using it, if you're not driving it, if it's just sitting there and someone needs it and you don't give it, you don't offer it, then you're in violation of karmic law. How about that? But the person that receives has to receive it within the right spirit. But there are no strings attached. When I give you something, there are zero. There are never strings attached. That is not the way I operate. That is not the way I think. That is not the way heart-mind goes. That is not the way you go when you're on the true spiritual path, right? You're not looking to get anything back, but something will come back anyway when you least expect it. When? At the right time, at the right place, at the right situation, you'll get what you need, which is usually an energy upgrade in your currency. And with that, I'm going to sign off. Remember, we're going to have a B and we're going to have a C. Remember, grasshopper, when you can take the stone, and I was supposed to have a lapis lazuli, which is one of my favorite stones, crystals, and we'll talk about crystals too. That was one of the things about using thought, following energy, and mind with intent, imagination, and creativity. But again, we can't do it all in one video. So all I want to do is kind of scratch the surface in video 8A, going to go to B and C. So go look up lapis lazuli, L-A-P-I-S, lazuli, L-I-Z-U-L-I. One of my favorite crystals, just to look at. I don't do much energy work with lapis, but I love to look at it. And today when I went to try and find it, it was hiding from me. Listen, these crystals are like people to me. They do what they want to do. If they don't want to be found, or they got a sense of humor, I know the good doctor sounds crazy how the fucking something inanimate and quote dead as crystals actually have a personality and a life force of their own and a consciousness of their own. My lapis lazuli had turned black just while I was looking for it. But then I reached out energetically, found it, pulled it up, it then turned back to its natural color. Can't make this stuff up. Lapis lazuli is a beautiful blue and gold with gold specks running through it. So I was supposed to have the lapis lazuli. I'll show it to you next time. Matter of fact, at some point I'll post a quick video, or we'll do it here on YouTube or on the Instagram. Skip Mahoney 22. But grasshopper, when you can take the stone from my hand, then you'll be ready to leave. And taking the stone with just pure quickness and force will never work against a master. You're going to have to use your intuition, your creativity, your imagination, your willpower, and your intent to remove the stone. Right now, you are not ready. With that, I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. But again, this is A, B, and we'll have a part C as well. Now let's see if this remote will work.